Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bucket Discussions podcast, the channel, man. Yo, whatever you want to call it, it is the man J Coop back for another episode of J Coop's Clips. In this episode, man, we got to go ahead and talk about a very, very pivotal Game 3 that the Los Angeles Clippers lost to the Dallas Mavericks, man. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Yeah, man, I know. It's a very, very unfortunate loss the Clippers took last night, losing a very pivotal game to the Dallas Mavericks, man. Game 3, I don't care what no one says, is always one of the most important games because usually this game kind of just tells you how the rest of the series is going to go. You know what I'm saying? Even though the series is only 1-2 in the Dallas Mavericks' favor, so we still do technically have a chance, but the way the Clippers played last night, which we are going to talk about, did not look too appealing, did not look, it did not look like there was something to take away from this game, at least anything good. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we can get straight into it. So the first quarter, man, the Clippers, they came out actually and they did punch first. They didn't look as bad. James Harden was the one kind of, carrying in that first quarter. I think he hit a couple threes, and also going into the second quarter, he had like 3 threes total, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, man, the Clippers, at the end of the first quarter, Clippers were winning 23-18, and Luka did have a little bit of an injury scare, you know what I'm saying? Russell Westbrook made a pretty good defensive play, in my eyes, on Luka Doncic. I know the Dallas Maverick fans might have something else to say about that, but it was a good defensive play, but Luka just fell down to the ground and started grabbing his knee, went back to the locker room for like a couple minutes, came back out, the crowd was going crazy, and yeah, man, the Dallas Mavericks ended up punching back in that second quarter, though, where they scored 36 points, and the Clippers only scored 18, so they scored double the points we did in the second quarter alone, so that obviously was not too good. It was not looking too great at this moment. Kawhi only in the first half. He only played like 9 minutes or something like that in the first half. So my idea was they're probably going to, just not play him that much in the first half and just kind of try to save him for the second half. But in my mind, I was like, we're already kind of too deep of a hole, especially if we're, expecting the Kawhi Leonard, still rusty, to come back and try to win us this game in the second half when we're already down by 16 points. You know what I'm saying? So, in my mind, man, this was just a terrible game. Everything that could have went wrong for the Clippers did, man. Like I said, Kawhi was playing very, minimal minutes. Paul George had 3 fouls in the first half, kind of like how he did last game. And then he ended up picking up his 4th foul sometime in the third quarter, I believe. And then his 5th foul he got very early in the fourth quarter. So at this point, Paul George was kind of restricted on defense. He wasn't really able to, get in people's jersey like how he was. He has to be better at not committing stupid ass fouls. Like I love Paul George, but his IQ sometimes really just blows my mind. Like, how is someone this talented at basketball with all the attributes you would want in a basketball player? He always seems one step behind sometimes when it comes to his passes, his playmaking, his decision making. It's just, there's so many things about Paul George that just, that help your team but also hinder your team at the same time. As I said, man, I just feel like the main 2 things for the Clippers in the first half that really killed us was obviously pick and roll defense, man. I will say Luka Doncic and Derek Lively, they just had so many lobs at the rim. Like, it was terrible, man, because like Luka would just get past James Harden, and then Zubac would have to come try to help him, pick him up a little bit, and then that already brings the second defender up, Zubac, to Luka Doncic. He throws it up for an alley, and there's no one in the paint, so Derek Lively gets a wide open jam, you know what I'm saying? So the defensive coverages weren't that great. I will say they did actually play pretty good on Luka Doncic, I will say, because he didn't really have the best game himself, but it was his teammates, you know what I'm saying? Especially Kyrie Irving, who hit some tough shots down the stretch, especially in that fourth quarter, man. But Luka, man, he really was not that great last night. He shot 7 of 25. Excuse me. And it just really was not that great of a game for him. He did have 22 points, almost a triple-double, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists, but other than that, man, his field goal percentage was terrible. He shot 28% from the field, but Kyrie Irving was, I'd say, the player of the game for the Dallas Mavericks, just because he was going off, man. He had 21 points. He also had 4 rebounds and 6 assists, but he was 8 of 17, shooting almost 50% from the field. So, Kyrie was just doing Kyrie things out there, but to me, the X factor in this game particularly was probably Derek Lively, man. He was going crazy. He had 13 points in 15 minutes. Just like I said earlier, man, it was just so many easy baskets at the rim for Derek Lively and the Mavericks. So many wide open lobs where there's like no one within a 5-foot radius of him. And then Also, Derrick Jones Jr. He was pretty solid for him. He only had 11 points, but he shot 4 of 8. He just was doing all the little things. 3 rebounds, 2 of them offensive rebounds. So, yeah, man, if you're the Dallas Mavericks fan, this is really what you want to see is your your extra parts that you picked up at the trade deadline or guys that you signed in the offseason. This is the type of production you want because you don't want to drive Luka into the ground. And it also gives him the leeway to not have the best game of the season. You know what I'm saying? Like it gives him a little bit of leeway to not have to be the regular Luka Doncic, which obviously you would like him to, but just knowing that he doesn't have to do that and you guys can still win games, that's a luxury. So yeah, man, just all around the Dallas Mavericks were hooping. Daniel Gafford with 8 points. He played 25 minutes. He was 4 or 5 from the field. A lot of those were dunks. He was just doing a little bit of everything, man. I'm not going to lie. He was really in our ass. I'm not going to lie. Daniel Gafford was. He had 3 blocks and 2 steals. So his hands were just active all over the court, just making all types of defensive plays, man. But also, I will say, it doesn't help when Kawhi Leonard dribbling off himself. There was a very just mind-boggling possession in the first quarter that James Harden had where he was trying to do a wraparound pass to someone in the paint. I believe it was Zubac or Russ, one of those two, but he had his feet up in the air and he threw it off his foot out of bounds. I'm like, these are the type of mistakes you can't afford to make in a playoff series, especially against a good team like the Dallas Mavericks. It's just like that's really why we lost the game. Obviously the Dallas Mavericks defense was good, but if you ask me the main reason we lost this game, I'd probably go ahead and tell you that it was just the Clippers being basically, I should say it was more of the Clippers being asked than it was the Dallas Mavericks defense because, like I said, we held Luka to 7 of 25 from the field and we still lost by double digits. Like, let that sink in for a minute. We lost 101-90 and Luka was 7 of 25 with 22 points. Like, in my mind, that's a game you should win, but you have Kawhi Leonard playing. Let me see how many minutes he played exactly because it really was not. I think it was 25 minutes if I'm not mistaken. He played 24 minutes. Paul George played 30 minutes. He was terrible. He shot 27% from the field, 3 of 11. He had 7 points. Kawhi Leonard had 9 points. He shot 4 of 7 as well. Terrence Mann was pretty terrible. Terrence Mann was 0 of 3 from the field with only 2 points. That was from the free throw line. And then James Harden was probably our player of the game, him and Zubac. James Harden had 21 points on 7 of 13 shooting. Zubac, he had 19 points on an 8 of 11 shooting. So, when you have James Harden or Ivica Zubac as your leading scorer, that's probably what the opposition wants. They don't want Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, one of those guys being the main scorer. So it kind of worked out. Paul George was 16% from 3. He shot 6 threes and made 1 of them. So, yeah, man, that's pretty much the story of the game. As I mentioned, man, we did lose 101-90. Russell Westbrook, he was also very, very terrible. If you guys know, this is one of my X Factors. In my X Factor video, he had 0 points. He shot 7 times. He had 1 point, and he also had more fouls than he did, points. So that's obviously not ideal, but it is what it is, man. Russell Westbrook, I could say he was the only one that brought some energy. Obviously, he got ejected after just, getting into it with PJ. And I will say, PJ, he's super corny for doing that shit was so corny. Like, I'm not even going to lie. I'm not even trying to hate, but that was probably the corniest shit I've seen all season. But, yeah, man, I will say Norman Powell, man, that really kills me. We wasted a good Norman Powell game, bro. I love Norman Powell, probably my favorite player on the Clippers besides, I guess Paul George, or Terrence Mann. But Norman Powell, he was pretty big for us, man. He had 21 points on 7 of 11 shooting. So shout out to my boy Norman. He showed up, and we wasted a good Norman Powell game. So obviously this is not the most ideal loss you would like to see, you know what I'm saying, especially after going to the Dallas Mavericks home. Now I will say we are only down 1-2, so we do still have a chance, but I'm just going to be honest, Clipper Nation, the way they played this game, I don't see us winning another game in the series. Kawhi still looks kind of hobbled. He looks like he's still trying to knock off some rust. Paul George just looks out of it. He looks like he's just trying to get to the off season so he can focus on his podcast. And James Harden, he just looks like James Harden. So yeah, it is what it is though, but and what's crazy thing is the Clippers actually did shoot better from the field and from 3 this game, but it didn't matter because the Dallas Mavericks had 16 more shots than us. We only shot 70 times. The Dallas Mavericks shot 86 times. But they shot 45.3%. We shot 45.7%. But from the three, man, they shot 26% from the three, and they shot 34 threes total. You know, we were just a little bit better. We were 34% from the three, 10 of 29. So it just really was not the best game by the Clippers, I will say. Also, another major thing for the Los Angeles Clippers that really hurt us was the turnovers. We had 19 turnovers compared to the 8 Dallas Mavericks turnovers. Points in the paint was also another big factor. As I mentioned, so many lobs for the Dallas Mavericks. They had 52 paint points while we had 38 points in the paint. And also personal fouls. Personal fouls, I will say, in the first half, in my mind, call me biased, whatever, man, but I thought the refs were dick riding the fuck out of the goddamn Dallas Mavericks. That shit was just, I was so ready to turn off the TV, bro, but we had 24 fouls. They had 16. Just like some shit that you wouldn't really expect them to call in the playoffs. Like, I want to say it was Westbrook that was guarding Luka a little bit, and he like barely grazed his face. No, it was James Harden. He was out on the perimeter. James Harden barely grazed his face, just tapped it. And they called a foul. I don't even remember if he got free throws or not, but I was just like, okay, so this is going to be the theme of the game. But everything else, man, was pretty even besides the steals. They had 12 steals compared to our 5, but assists, they had 21. We had 19 blocks. They had 7. We had 4. So for the most part, like Tyronn Lue said last game in the post game, we won a lot of the stats, but we just didn't win the game, and that's the most important stat of them all. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully my Clippers can bounce back tomorrow in Game 3 on Sunday. I mean, hey, Clipper Nation, let me know how y'all are feeling. I'm not feeling too hot right now. I'm not going to lie. After what I've seen, it looked pretty good in the first quarter. You know what I'm saying? I thought we could, try to grab the game by the throat, especially with James Harden, being 3 of 3 from 3. And then I thought Kawhi was going to come back in eventually. But no, he only played 9 minutes in the first half or something like that. It might have been a little bit more, but that's what it felt like. It really felt like he played 5 minutes the whole game, if you ask me. But I will say Kawhi Leonard, he did have 2 dunks, so I don't know. I don't know really what to say with him. I don't know if he looks bad or looks good. I just think he looks rusty, in my opinion. But that pretty much does wrap up this episode of J. Coops Clips. If you guys enjoyed it, found it useful, informational, any type of way, or entertaining, man, make sure you hit it with a thumbs up. And make sure you guys subscribe if you are new around here, because we're still trying to grow this Bug Discussions, this community. So I appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all. Keep being safe. And until next time.
In the jungle like I'm Conan, count up with both hands. Switch the flow like it was broken. I'm on the road, man, making plays just like DeRozan. I shoot my shot, and that shit wetter than the ocean. I brag a lot, but with the wind and come the boasting. I made a lot from them apartments that I sold, and he ain't make it up to college. So them streets where he enrolled in. I know I'm a scholar from the moments that I was exposed in.